Kal Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. And double honors to the elders of GMS Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Barakatah. Today's lesson is on Norman Bergram. Today's lesson is on Norman Bergram. And this article comes from Facebook, from the Hater World's post. And the Hater World says, a former NASA research scientist has come forward with claims of an alien landing at a U.S. Air Force base, and what he describes is unlike anything we've ever been told. Dr. Norman Bergram, a respected aerospace engineer, has broken decades of silence to detail an astonishing encounter involving what he describes as a mile-long spacecraft and hundreds of extraterrestrial beings. According to Bergram, the incident occurred during a classified military operation, details of which have been buried under layers of national security for decades. The ship, he alleges, touched down on U.S. soil at a remote Air Force installation where witnesses, now either deceased or sworn to secrecy, were stunned by what unfolded. And it goes on to say here, NASA scientists saw 7-foot-tall aliens. They're tall, black, and look like African Americans. And that's correct. And that's true because according to Ezekiel chapter 1, which many have called the chapter of Ezekiel's wheels, goes on to say in verse 7, Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 7, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkle like the color of burnished brass. Now when it says, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, that is referring to the special kind of shoes that the dark-skinned angels of the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushai, wore, what they had on. Like the Jikatabi ninja shoes that you see here. These type of shoes resemble that of a calf's foot, as you can see here. You see? Look at the picture of the shoes and look at the picture of the animal. And they sparkle like the color of burnished brass. And here we have a great example of burnished brass. It's dark brown. That's what Norman Bergram was describing and what he saw. He saw the dark-skinned angels of the Lord inside of the Lord's chariot. Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 7 describes the chariots of the Lord, which are also known as Ezekiel's wheels, and the verse also describes the characteristics and attributes of the angels of the Lord. The angels of the Lord are dark-skinned, but when it comes to Esau, Edom, they describe them as black. That's why Norman Bergram said they were black, 7-foot black beings. You see? But when it comes to the comments, Stacy Runa, as you can see here, she says maybe that's where they get the idea to make the movie Black Panther. They were telling us indirectly by a movie, right? Hollywood knows the truth. They know the truth of the scriptures, and so does the elites of society. They know the truth. They know those so-called UFOs are of the Lord, that many cannot explain. And Ivy Morse goes on to say, this is AI and fake, but it's not AI or fake because the scriptures give testimony of what this former NASA research scientist saw, Norman Bergrum. And I also have the clip of Norman Bergrum's interview to prove it. And I will show you that also upon this lesson. And when it comes to both NASA and the elites of government out of the nation of Esau or Edom, they know of the huge mountain-sized chariot that's to come. That's why the video of Norman R. Bergrum stated, where do you manufacture one that is 2.5 Earth lengths long?
Okay, but if there are craft, there are beings.
Okay, people have asked me about, I call them vehicles, okay?
Right.
Now, I did not call them objects. That was too neuter for me.
Okay.
I had a Stanford professor say, you ought to call them objects. No. They have all of the qualities of a vehicle. Mm-hmm. They can move. They're just like a missile or anything like that. So that much we can say about them, for sure.
Okay.
So I'm calling it a vehicle.
Okay.
Okay, somebody comes along and says, well, now where would you manufacture one that's 2.5 Earth lengths long? And that's a hard question to answer.
So are you not positing the idea that those vehicles contain, beings who are, maybe like us?
Yeah, I only go along with government images. And if you want to know about people kind of thing, there is the ship that picked up the Voyager capsule at Alameda Naval Shipyard, and they have a picture there of I think it's the Apollo flight that Buzz and Neil were on. But anyway, there is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.
Black skin.
Really black. Yeah.
Were they tall?
Yes.
Very tall?
Yeah.
How tall? Do you know?
Well, they got out the doorway. I don't know how high that is, but
Well, what?
it's safe. 7 feet would be probably a conservative estimate.
Have you heard about Clark McClellan's statement about that?
No.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Have you ever been in touch with him?
No.
No?
There is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark, black.
Black skin.
Really black. Yeah.
Were they tall?
Yes.
Very tall?
Yeah.
How tall? Do you know?
Well, they got out the doorway. I don't know how high that is, but
Well, what?
it's safe. 7 feet would be probably a conservative estimate.
When it comes to men of the world, they will always think with a carnal mind. That's why they cannot comprehend the things of the Lord and of the incredible mountain-sized chariot of the Lord. To the Most High Power and His Son at His right-hand side, there's nothing impossible. Not even when it comes to making a fathership of that size. And when it comes to man, they only understand the things of the earth. That's why the scripture of 2 Esdras 4:21 has said the following. Second Esdras 4:21. For like as the ground is given unto the wood, and the sea to his floods, even so they that dwell upon the earth may understand nothing but that which is upon the earth, and he that dwelleth above the heavens may only understand the things that are above the height of the heavens. When it comes to the Lord, he understands everything in creation. That's why he's called the Creator. Plus, he ruleth in the kingdom of men. But when it comes to man, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked on that left-hand side of the spectrum, according to the scripture of Job 9:24. And upon earth, man only understands the things of the earth. The nation of Edom continues to search out things upon the earth, but the earth itself has not been fully explored. 80% of the ocean has not been fully explored or even seen mankind at that. And a lot of places on land have also not been discovered. And when it comes to earthly men to know what is beyond earth's boundaries, that is not given unto men to know. It was never intended for them to know what is beyond earth's boundaries. Man was only allowed to venture to a certain portion, to a certain degree of space to establish their satellites and international space station. Man upon earth deals with science, which means knowing. What is known, or a way of knowing. It's the knowledge of something acquired through study. But the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, is the supreme being that understands it all. He ruleth in the kingdom of men. Not just in the heavens, but man only understands earthly things. But when it comes to the Most High and His Son, there is nothing impossible. The problem is that worldly men think with a carnal mind. That's why it's impossible for them to understand about the humongous mountain-sized ship of the Lord. The Lord has incredible mountain-sized spaceships that these so-called Christians do not speak upon. You see? And one of those scriptures is in Zechariah 6:1. Let's go over to that scripture. Zechariah 6:1. And I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass. And when it came to the Israelites in the past, they knew the truth of the Lord's mountain-sized chariots. That's why they sung the song, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. But in these modern times, they have led you to believe that there are little green and gray aliens from another world. No. Inside of those ships of the Lord are His angels. Is His angels, dark-skinned angels. It tells you that in Ezekiel chapter 1. The elites of Esau Edom's government know of these huge mountain-sized IFOs of the Lord. But it's just as Norman Bergram said, where do you fabricate a thing of that size? Why he said that? Because man thinks with a carnal mind. Another scripture upon the mountain-sized spaceship is found upon the scripture of 2 Esdras 13:6. Let's go over to that scripture. 2 Esdras 13:6. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. Right, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. Is in reference to that enormous spaceship of the Lord, Yahweh Yahushua. The same way he left is the same way he shall return, in that same mountain-sized chariot. On that day, the Lord's heavenly armada of angels shall be everywhere, because the Lord is coming with a huge armada of angels. Even the archangels are coming. 2 Esdras 15:34. Behold, clouds from the east and from the north unto the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. Right, and these clouds full of wrath and storm represents the chariots of the Lord that will bring battle unto Babylon the Great, aka America, and unto those other heathen nations that are joined with them. Full of wrath, meaning in that extreme righteous anger that the Lord Yahweh Yahushai shall bring. He shall bring it by way of the chariot lasers and missiles of destruction. And the other aspect of these ships will be to save the elect out of harm's way, that elect of the house of David. The clouds are in reference to the so-called UFOs of the Lord Yahweh Yahushai, according to the scripture of Psalms 104:3. Here we have that scripture of Psalms 104:3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Chariot, according to Lexicon Strong's H7398 and H7392, who maketh the clouds a vehicle to ride on. Right, a so-called UFO. But to us is IFOs, identified flying objects of the Lord Yahweh Yahushai. We know what they are. And these clouds are in reference to the Lord Yahweh Yahushai's identified flying objects, or IFOs, in other words. The chariots of the Lord are the curse that will go over the face of this entire earth, according to the scripture of Zechariah 5:3. Right now, the chariots of the Lord are calm, but when all is fulfilled, especially that CHIP of Revelation 13:16-18, then you can best believe that they shall all come in like a whirlwind. These so-called clouds shall save the elect of Israel, and they shall also bring battle unto the armies of the earth. So of course there's a posing threat coming to the whole earth due to the vast wickedness that has exceedingly polluted the whole earth. 2 Esdras 15:6 does say, for wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. The Lord is coming for his elect also, because the scriptures have said, if the days are not cut short, no flesh shall be saved. This wicked system has reached its full peak and is ready to pop. The first time the earth was cleansed by water, and now many places shall be cleansed by means of fire. Modern day Babylon the Great shall be totally destroyed, along with the land that the small hats now inhabit. But the only difference is that modern day Babylon the Great shall never rebuild, but the land that the small hats now inhabit will rebuild. But when it comes to Babylon the Great, it shall be cleansed with chariot fire and by nuclear fire. And that humongous mountain-sized chariot will take part in that destruction to come. But with that being said, Kal Olah Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai Bahashem, Racha, Kodash, and double honors to the elders of Jemes Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Barakatah.